am Dr. Kenyaju Nganga, welcoming you to Sense 101 Life Club, where we train, coach, and mentor people to achieve their God-given destinies. Sense 101 Life Club, inspiring generations.
Overcome self-doubt. I read of a story of some four Catholic ladies who were arguing about their sons. And the first one said, my son is a father. Everyone calls him, he's a priest, so everyone calls him father. And the second one said, my son is a cardinal. And she was trying to brag because the first one said, my son is a father. So my son is a cardinal, and everyone calls him His Grace. And the third woman said, my son is a bishop, and everyone calls him His Eminence. And the fourth woman said, my son is not a clergyman, but he's 6 foot tall, 6-pack. Whenever he walks past some women, they always say, oh my God. We all long for recognition. We all long for appreciation. We all long for intimacy and connections with one another and with some higher power. When these things lack in our life for a prolonged period of time, we start doubting ourselves. Often than not, we get an identity crisis. We wonder why someone cannot appreciate us. You see, our own identity is derived chiefly from 3 sources. First, from our upbringing. Secondly, from those around us, especially our friends, our neighbors, our relatives, our colleagues at work. And thirdly, from the media. The media in particular teaches 3 things. 1, feeling good. 2, looking good. And 3, having the goods. The media teaches feeling good, that's sex and money. Looking good, that's about appearances and body images. And having goods, that's money and materialism. As a result of that, the society today is very showy. We like showing off consumptions, big cars, jewelry, expensive jewelry, homes, holidays. Especially married women never make it easy for single ladies. They try to flash out all the holidays on Facebook where they are going with their families. And the kids who are getting married these days, they have to do a wedding show and showcase it on media, making it very hard for those who do not have money even to think of doing a wedding. We are a very flashy generation. The agenda has already been set by the media. And many of us also want to hit the headlines as celebrities. I warn in this club, don't crave to be a celeb. That may reduce you from a hero to a zero. While celebrities make headlines, legendaries make history. Concentrate on your purpose in life. If that takes you to the media, so be it. But that should not be your focus. Cuba in particular, they have laws prohibiting the media from portraying images of naked people. They don't want their children to derive false identity from people who do not even exist in the first place. You see, magazine girls are airbrushed. In reality, they don't even exist. They just are in a performance when they are taking pictures. But many of us are trying to benchmark with someone who is non-existent. There was a New Yorker who referred himself as Apotheosis, standing at 5 feet and 6 inches tall. That was within noble boundaries for a man. But he saw himself in a different light altogether as a 6-foot statuesque. And he decided that he has to reach that height. He said that, I quote, I wanted the way I look at myself and the way the world looks at me to be similar. So in 2012, that 7-year-old young man decided to take drastic measures, something known as leg lengthening, a process that involves breaking both legs and stretching them to achieve the desired height, something resembling medieval torture. He finally achieved the 6 foot that he wanted to. But then I was curious to realize on his Facebook page what people are commenting about that. The first comment I saw was a guy who said, hey, a male model is 6 foot 2 inches tall. He's still 2 inches too short. I think I suggest he should do neck lengthening to achieve the height of a male model. Another one said, by the way, why didn't he stand on a stool whenever he looked at himself on the mirror? Do you realize if you achieve what you think the world will like, people will change their mind and you've got to master a whole new role altogether? Have you lost contact with yourself? Tonight, would you want the Lord to introduce you to yourself? Florida-based orthopedic surgeon by the name Dr. Drew Pally conducts an average of 650 leg lengthening every single year. Some of them to remedy deformities, most of them for cosmetic purposes, a process known as the height dysphoria. People who are uncomfortable with their height. People who want to be taller than they were born. The extent to which most of us will go to achieve an image portrayed by the media. You see, ladies and gentlemen, how you treat yourself sets the standard on how the world treats you. Is it possible there is someone in our midst tonight who is about to wave the white flag of surrender? You feel that you've been pushed to the corner to achieve a desired physical appearance or to achieve some material gains, and you feel like you're about to surrender. For this cause, we are here tonight. And I want to take you through this topic, overcoming self-doubt, in 4 phases. The first part of our discussion, I want us to look at characteristics of people suffering from self-doubt. The second part of our discussion, I want us to look at causes of self-doubt. The third part of our discussion, I want us to look at severity, or rather the gravity, how severe it is to suffer from self-doubt. And the last bit, and perhaps by far the most important, I want to take you through a process, a 7-step procedure on how to overcome self-doubt. Let me make a disclaimer before continuing. I will not engage in any semantics like the differences between self-doubt and low self-esteem and how the same can degenerate to inferiority complex. I'll focus on the core business, which is to boost the self-confidence of the people listening to me here tonight, which is to help you have a proper self-image about yourself, because you'll never rise above your self-image. I repeat, we will not focus on any semantics. Is that okay? The first part of our discussion, characteristics of people suffering from self-doubt. How can I know whether I am a victim of self-doubt? How can I know whether someone living with me, perhaps a spouse, perhaps a child, perhaps a colleague at work, perhaps a neighbor, perhaps a relative, perhaps family, how can I know whether they are suffering from self-doubt? There could be 101 reasons, and there is no way I can exhaust the list tonight, but I'll focus on what I consider the 5 most critical characteristics. Number 1, people suffering from self-doubt are extremely critical. They're extremely critical. Appreciation of any kind is foreign to them. They are judgmental by nature. They are gifted food fighters. They are born critics. They never see any good in anyone. You see, the converse is also true. People with high self-esteem celebrate the success of others. They look for the good of other people. They are attracted by success. And they are happy when other people succeed. In fact, when you criticize someone with high self-esteem, they take it as feedback to improve on their craft. When you throw brickbats at them, they build houses with them. But people suffering from self-doubt build walls around them. They have closed minds. They don't believe in learning. They feel too inferior to receive information from other people. And I don't know whether this could be a spouse that you left at home. They are gifted gossipers. Because they don't have their own ideas, they are busy analyzing and scandalizing other people. They are very jealous individuals because they doubt what they can do and they never try to do something on their own. They are just jealous about what other people are doing. They compete even with unforeseen forces. They are extremely critical individuals. Number 2, people with self-doubt are full of anxiety. They are full of fear, especially the fear of failure. They keep thinking if we start any project, we will fail. If I go for an interview for a job, I will fail. If I try a business venture, I will fail. Their lives are preoccupied with the fear of failure. Fear is the highest fence between you and your aspiration. Fear assaults your aspiration. Fear is the main roadblock between you and your dreams in this life. In fact, there is a higher chance for a child who fears the darkness to succeed than an adult who fears the light. Fear is a dark room where negatives develop. Is it possible that the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek? In Julius Caesar, William Shakespeare wrote, "Cowards die many times, but the brave never taste of death but once." One of the most popular generals in military history, Napoleon Bonaparte, has said, and I quote, "He who fears to be conquered is sure of defeat." Speaking to his war-torn nation, Franklin Delano Roosevelt spoke to his American citizens, "The only thing in this life to fear is fear itself." There are many ways of reacting to fear, predominantly 3 of them. There are those who allow fear to dominate in their lives and they live a life of misery. Then there are those who act in spite and despite of fear. And you know, when you take action, action breeds confidence. And thirdly, there are those who agree that fear is part of life and they move on with their life as though fear does not exist. And they take the projects they fear the most, thereby conquering their fears. I have a suggestion for you if you've been living in anxiety. Let me just make 3 of them. First of all, recognize nothing is to be feared. Everything is to be understood. Rather than fearing the storms, you would rather learn how to sail the ship. I know any single project that you dare understand, you'll end up mastering it if you focus with concentration. Secondly, realize that fear is a contagious emotion and avoid the fearful like plague. Look for the company of the brave. And thirdly, feed your faith, and by doing so, you will starve your fears to death. Fear cannot take anything except that which you feed it. On its own, fear has no power over your life. Characteristic number 3. People with self-doubt also lack confidence. They are underconfident people. Is there someone you wish you never met? Is there someone you wish you never gave them your phone number? Do you remember the first person who doubted you? Do you remember the first person who cast aspersions on your capabilities? Do you remember the first time you were told you are good for nothing? Something is fundamentally wrong with you if you believed them. What if they were wrong? What if they misdiagnosed you? What if there is an alternative opinion? Giving such immense power to any individual to determine what you can or cannot do is debilitating to your very being. There are many people who succeeded even after being doubted, but no one ever succeeded living in self-doubt. Never again allow what you hear sink in your system. The hour has come for you to stand up against every accusing tongue and every pointing finger. You've got to stand on your feet. I read somewhere a quote written, "A radical is someone with his 2 feet firmly rooted in the air." And I think we need some radicals here tonight, who give a deaf ear to every accusing tongue. Women, hear me tonight. Men are never necessarily attracted by beauty. Men are attracted by confident women. Gentlemen, hear me tonight. Your career is no less than that of the person you admire. Begin to love your job. The reality is this: you can love what you don't master, but you can master what you don't love. Embrace your job, give it your all, and stop admiring other people's careers. What you are doing, I repeat, is no less than the people you fervently admire. Be confident with your own ideas. Characteristic number 4. People with self-doubt are often hostile people. You see, hostility is a factor of lack of confidence. It's a cover-up. It's a defense mechanism. People with self-doubt degenerate to low levels of decency. A loving person lives in a loving world. A hostile person lives in a hostile world. Peace is the only battle worth waging. It is Mahatma Gandhi who said, "An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind." I suggest tonight, don't live with a person who is suffering under the whims of self-doubt and has degenerated to a violent person. No one can think and hit someone at the same time. The two are mutually exclusive behaviors. If you expose yourself long enough to verbal and physical abuse, your life will become vegetative. Never beg for what you have the capacity to earn. You are a human and you have a right to be treated as much. Refuse to believe that there is no alternative to the person putting food on your table. Dignity may be assaulted, vandalized, and cruelly mocked, but it can never be taken away unless it is surrendered. Characteristic number 5. People living in self-doubt often overindulge. On 5th of March, the year 2000, Lolo Ferrari died of drug overdose. She had graduated from prostitution to hardcore pornster to a socialite, stripping before world cameras. She had gone through 22 plastic surgeries to enlarge her breasts. By the time she died, she had the largest breasts in the world, 3 kilograms each. She lived for the thrill of the moment, addicted to fame. Every day, every hour, she laid for that precise moment, despite the fact doctors had already warned her that the muscles supporting her breast someday would collapse. About a year before she died, the nerves literally collapsed. She lived on antidepressants about 3 times a day. And she knew she would kill herself, so much so that she made arrangements with an undertaker about her funeral details. What is interesting to me is an interview that she did a few weeks prior to her death. And she said, I hated making love in front of world cameras. But when I was growing up, first I was told I have a small head, and I felt my breasts were repressing the childhood I never had. My parents never loved me. As a matter of fact, my father came home at most once a year. Let me suggest to you, parents in our midst, never make fun about a girl's physical appearance. It can damage her to irreparable levels. Never make a fun about a boy's games, toys, or activities that he likes doing, because that's where they derive their identity from. And whenever you see someone suffering from overindulgences, I beseech you tonight, don't judge them. When you see someone in drug and substance abuse, or in alcoholism, or addicted to sexual promiscuity, watching pornography, or even normal movies, but someone who is watching for 48 hours non-stop, the likelihood is high they are running or trying to escape the ground realities. Treat them as patients who need your prayers and support. And in case you're in our midst and you're suffering from any indulgence, you are of particular interest to me. Please leave your contacts at the info desk. I will not delegate this duty. I will reach out to you personally. I will call you and journey with you. For this cause, this club was established. And this takes me to the second part of our discussion today, causes of inferiority complex. Causes of inferiority complex. Once again, let me humbly admit that the 5 I'm going to share with you is not an exhaustive list, but largely picks the major causes of inferiority complex. Number 1, unmanaged expectations. Unmanaged expectations. Interestingly enough, a lot of people, when they're getting married, a lot of women keep hoping the man will change. And a lot of women keep hoping the man won't change. And both pairs end up disappointed. Not once, not twice. I had a lady saying she met this guy in a nightclub and they became intimate on the first night. And she had the audacity to believe the guy is going to change after they tie the knot. What makes you think, if she slept with you the very first date, that you're the first one or the last one? So you get into marriage with unrealistic expectations. And when someone cheats on you, you begin doubting yourself. But even without going extreme cases, a lot of Kenyans, when they buy you a cup of coffee, they expect you to buy them tomorrow. So if they do not buy, does that happen? Or we attend birthday parties, we attend weddings, expecting reciprocal behavior. It's the most natural thing to expect. If I came for your son's birthday party, I expect you in turn to come for my son's birthday party. You know, the easiest way to be disappointed in this life is to expect appreciation from people, to soak people when they disagree with you, to give and expect reciprocal behavior in turn, to create time for everyone else except for yourself, to demand agreement with your personal views. That's a recipe for disappointments. If you want a peaceful life, give, expecting nothing in return. In terms of relationships, spell out what you expect before you make a covenant, a lifelong covenant. Get into those details. If it wasn't meant to be yours, it will walk away. If this thing was meant to be yours, it will be intact. Don't try to protect someone like he's going to escape tomorrow. The second cause of self-doubt, isolation. Isolation. When we are so down and downtrodden, the most natural response is to isolate ourselves, is to retreat to our own cocoons. Let me warn you tonight, the enemy of our souls works through isolation. Whatever gets isolated gets terminated. If he can isolate you, he can